Hi guys, Raj Sangha here, owner of Cardio Security. Welcome to another episode of Raj's Garage. Standing beside my E30 M3, but today's episode is not about that. We've got my 993 Turbo here as well. Today's episode is not about that. We'll do that in another video. But today we are going to talk about my Peugeot 205 GTI. Okay, so why a 205 GTI? Doesn't really fit with the rest of the cars in my collection. Well, I needed two classic, lightweight, hot hatches for the new showroom in Hayes. It's a sort of design feature in the showroom. If you come along to the shop, you'll see it. So I started looking at the options. And the options really to consider a 205 GTI, Mark 1 Golf, Mark 2 Golf GTI, Renault 5 Turbo, Escort RS Turbo, Fiesta RS Turbo, you get the idea. But I definitely had to have a 205 GTI. And the reason for that is because the first car I bought with my own money back in the 90s was a 205 GTI. And here's a picture of me standing with it. So in that picture you can see me standing there, I think Bournemouth Beach or Southend, I don't know where I was. I bought that while studying for my degree. You can see me standing there with my old NEC EP3 mobile phone. So obviously I had to get a 205 GTI just to try and relive some of those memories from the 90s. Started looking last year, obviously eBay, auction sites, Facebook, but every clean, unmolested example was getting snapped up like so quick, so super quick. So I thought maybe try and find a modified version. So this particular car, I got tagged in by a friend, appeared on Facebook, fairly heavily modified by Pug One Off. This exact car was reviewed in the official Evo magazine, I think back in 2011, when the modifications had just been done. And it was also driven by Fifth Gear's Vicky Butler Henderson.
This is lovely and crisp, fantastic power delivery.
Okay, so what are the mods? Quite extensive actually. It started life actually as a 1.6 GTI. And from what I understand, most of the cars that were modified heavily back in the early 2000s and so on were the 1.6s. They were a little bit cheaper. And obviously if you're going to modify it, why not buy the cheaper version? So this particular car has had an engine swap. So the original engine, the 1.6 GTI engine, has been removed and replaced with a 306 GTI 2-litre lump, which I'm just going to show you now. There you go. That's substantially bigger than the standard stock engine which you would have seen in this particular car. So a 2-litre lump which has been taken out of a 306 GTI. It's got different cat cams, a ported throttle housing, a Maniflow exhaust manifold with a stainless steel straight through pipe, which is fairly loud. On top of that, it's had a stage 2 map and the car now pushes 195 brake horsepower. Okay, so the original 5-speed gearbox that came in the car has been removed and replaced with the 6-speed out of the 306 GTI. It's a closer ratio gearbox. Also has a Quaife differential, which has improved the grip and reduced the wheel spin. Okay, with all this additional horsepower, what 50% more than what a 1.9 GTI was at that time, the brakes needed to be upgraded. So they've been upgraded by Pug One Off to 306 GTI brakes. So you've got bigger discs, better pads, and a 306 brake servo cylinder. On top of that, the suspension has been upgraded. It's now sitting on Bilstein B6 dampers. We've got IBAC springs. Also the rear and the front arms have been upgraded, the torsion bars, the anti-roll bars, and also has solid rear axle mounts. The brakes have been upgraded, but they are nothing like modern day cars. one of my staff decided to take it for a spin last year, and they soon realized that while the car's quick, the brakes don't stop as quick as they should do. Watch this. You could see from that video that this is a fun little car. Got to be careful, because obviously the brakes aren't up to scratch. In the wet, it can be a little bit hairy as well, but so much more fun than the original 1.9 GTI. The mods alone on this car, so the engine, the suspension, the brakes and so on, the gearbox, they total about £7,500, £8,500. That's what Pug one off charge. So what have I done to the car? I've had the car for 10, 11 months. Well, engine wise, I've had to do nothing. Just a quick service. But the car came with a Sparco racing seat, single Sparco racing seat, and an OMP track ready steering wheel. Not suitable for what I wanted to do with the car. So we got rid of the racing seat, got rid of the steering wheel, sourced an original interior off eBay, as you do, and my staff ripped everything else out and put all of this in. As you can see now, obviously looks so much better now inside with the stock interior and obviously the cool stock GTI steering wheel. What else have we done? Well, we've had to add an alarm. Being car with security, that's what we do. So we've added a Clifford alarm. We've not changed the audio because we don't need to on this car, because it is just purely a display car. It actually came with a cool retro Kenwood mask stereo, so we've left that in there. Externally, the modifications we've done are firstly the wheels. They're the standard wheels, but they were pretty bad. The lacquer was peeling, they were discolored. The wheels were given to our good friends over at Southall Tyres. Big up Roy and Lewis. They've got the wheels refurbished, a couple of new tyres. There was some paint correction that needed to be done, which we've had done. It needed a polish and a mop, which we've done in-house. So really, the car is done. There is nothing else we are going to do to this car apart from drive it, which is what we're going to do now. So here we are in the Pug 205 GTI. How does it feel? Well, it feels like a regular 205 1.9 GTI. The interior is still the same. It's still got the needles that move around on the speedo, on the instrument cluster, on the rev counter, like they did back in the day. So all of that brings back some great memories. Pretty raspy through the exhaust. You know, it's a straight through pipe. There's no silencer, so it's got a different emotion with the car. It feels a lot angrier than a standard 1.9 GTI. It just feels like it wants to go. The gearbox is a lot smoother. The older gearbox, when I say older, the standard 1.9 gearbox was a little bit ropey. This feels it's quite planted when you push it in, and it goes. A lot of noise, a lot of emotion. It's pretty quick. However, the drawback are the brakes. As the cameraman just realised. So we need to be a little bit careful. Inside the car, bearing in mind the car is what, a 92 plate, nearly 30 years old, and it's got 181,000 miles. It doesn't look too bad. The instrument cluster, everything works, the heating works, and I just had to turn it down. Pretty quick. Whoa! pretty quick. So the Evo magazine review back in 2011 mentioned that this car had a 0 to 60 time of 5.6 seconds. It certainly feels that quick. So I can't say it's a sleeper because it's quite noisy, but it can pretty much scare quite a lot of the sort of hot hatches that are around now, the Golf GTIs and so on, which are obviously a lot heavier. Okay guys, thanks for watching the video. I've got to say I really enjoyed that. I'm still smiling and laughing inside. Make sure you pop down to the new showroom in Hayes, Car Security Tuning Store. This car is part of a display that's featured in the shop. If you can't get down to the shop, if you're too far away, then check on YouTube. By the time this video goes out, the car will actually be on display and you can see where it is on display. It's kind of quirky. The next video will be featuring another hot hatch, which is parked over here, which is this amazing Mark II VW Golf 16 valve, sitting on Airlift Performance 3H and those lovely BBS RSs. So any comments, obviously throw them down below. We'll do our best to answer them. Hit the subscribe button. We have a lot more content coming your way. Make sure you hit the bell notification. Thank you very much. Over and out.